Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are tackling a challenge that literally every single leader faces. How do you build an A team from the ground up? We're going to demystify the whole process of finding and choosing the right people and give you a clear playbook for success.
So, let's start with a scenario. Picture this, your star player, a key member of your team, just handed in their notice. That empty desk isn't just a gap you need to fill, It's a huge moment. How you handle it is going to define your team's future. Today, we're going to figure out the right way to make that next move.
All right, here's our game plan. First, we'll nail down the core concepts. Then, we'll get into the nuts and bolts of recruitment and selection. We'll also tackle that classic dilemma, should you promote or hire? And we'll look at the super important process of picking future leaders. And then, we'll wrap up with a big question for you to chew on.
Okay, first things first. Let's clear something up that a lot of people get wrong. They use the words recruitment and selection like they're the same thing. They're not. They are two totally distinct sequential steps, and understanding that difference, well, that's the foundation of hiring like a pro. The best way to think about it is like a fishing. Recruitment, that's you casting a huge, wide net. The whole point is to get a big pool of potential candidates. You want options. Then there's selection. That's the part where you carefully sift through everything you caught to find that one perfect fit. So you gather first, and then you choose. So how do you cast that net the right way? I mean, it's not about just throwing it out there and hoping for the best. A really professional approach is built on 3 key steps that create a rock-solid foundation for your entire search. You can see how these 3 steps just logically build on each other, right? First, the job analysis defines what the person will actually do day to day. The job description makes that official, the what and where. And finally, the hiring specification outlines exactly who you're looking for. When you follow the sequence, you end up with a super precise blueprint for your ideal candidate. Okay, so you did it. Your recruitment plan worked perfectly, and now you have this great pool of qualified candidates. But this is where the real challenge starts, the selection. To find that perfect fit, you're going to need a reliable toolkit of methods to help you make the absolute right choice. The official term for these tools is selection devices, and really, it's just a fancy way of saying any technique you use to gather information and compare your applicants. The whole goal is to predict who will perform the best if you give them the job. So inside this toolkit, you've got a few options. Application forms give you a solid baseline, references give you someone else's perspective, and tests can measure very specific skills. But let's be real, the most common tool, and honestly the one that's easiest to mess up, is the interview. So let's talk about how to get that right. And as you can see, there is a world of difference between an unstructured interview and a structured one. That unstructured, informal chat, it seems relaxed, but it is just riddled with bias. It leads to bad hires and can even get you into legal trouble. The professional standard, the one you should be using, is the structured interview. Everyone gets the same job-related questions, their answers are scored systematically, and a committee, not just one person, makes the final call. It's all designed to be fair, consistent, and legally defensible. All right, you've got your selection tools mastered. Now you're at a huge strategic crossroads. Do you look inside your own team and promote someone, or do you look outside the company and hire someone new? The answer to this is going to have a massive impact on your team's culture and its performance. This table just lays out the trade-offs perfectly. Promoting an insider, it's often cheaper, you already know what they're capable of, and wow, is it a great morale booster for the whole team. But hiring an outsider can bring in fresh ideas and prevent what's called social inbreeding. You know that thing where people get promoted just because of who they know, not what they can do. It's really a classic battle between stability and innovation. We have covered so much ground, but we've saved what might be the single most important hiring decision any leader will ever make for now, choosing another manager. You get this one right, and it can set up the entire organization for success. Get it wrong, and, well, I mean, just let that quote sink in for a second. It's not an exaggeration. You can have the best product, the best talent, the best strategy, but without great leadership, none of it matters. Managers are the engine of an organization, and that's why choosing them is such a high-stakes game. So, as you can imagine, the process for assessing potential managers is intense. For someone with experience, it's all about deep dive interviews with senior leaders to really scrutinize their track record and see if they fit the culture. For a new grad, the focus shifts a bit. You're looking at their academic record, sure, but also for raw leadership potential and interpersonal skills. Either way, the goal is exactly the same, a rigorous, comprehensive evaluation.
So if you only take one thing away from all of this, let it be this. Building a great team is not about getting lucky or going with your gut. It is a structured, deliberate process. Every single step we talked about is designed to move you away from random chance and towards a methodical approach that finds the absolute best person for the job. And that brings us right back to where we started, with a huge choice. When it's your turn to build a team, are you going to go for the proven performer from within, or are you going to bring in a fresh perspective from the outside? Look, there's no single right answer, but now you're armed with a structured approach. You have the framework to make the best possible decision for your team and for your goals. Thanks for joining us on The Explainer.